My name is Michael Dubon, and I enjoyed emceeing the summer salon so much that I'm pleased to MC again tonight, and I'm happy to be here. And thank you all for having me. And so, one of my favorite things of many of Why There Are Words is, as writers, we work in solitude. We know how lonely and isolating it can be. So we definitely all need community too. And that's one of the best things about Why There Are Words is bring together a community that enjoys literature and books. And so I just wanted to, Peg and I wanted to introduce myself. And Peg is the director of Why There Are Words, and to tell you a little bit about me. So I first got involved with Why There Are Words back already. It's been such a little bit of time. In 2017 to 2019, I was an intern for when Why There Are Words was had in-person events in the Bay Areas, and I was doing my creative writing MFA at St. Mary's College of California. And today, now I am a tenure track English faculty at Everett Community College in Everett, Washington. And I'm a first generation US citizen of Guatemalan descent and a first generation college graduate. And I've published some poetry in the Meadow, Rising Phoenix Review, and my creative nonfiction has appeared in the Plenitudes, Heartwood, and Under the Gum Tree. And I'm currently working on publishing my memoir and essays, the Dubonicals. And so that's a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm so happy to be here and so grateful for y'all to have me and help me host this great event. And so before we begin, here are a few housekeeping tidbits and announcements to keep in mind. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, we'd appreciate everyone keeping their sound muted in order to avoid creating distractions. But one thing you can enable that I encourage you to enable is the chat view. And you can enable that by clicking the chat button in the bottom ribbon of the Zoom app. And there in the chat sidebar, you will find information about each authors as they're introduced, as well as their books posted there. So that way you can see the authors' bios as well as get access to their books as well. And you'll also be able to use that chat feature to comment during the event, which I would also welcome you to do because interactivity is what the community is all about. And it would be great for the readers to see your appreciation for their work as well. And also, we're all Zoom experts now, so we're all ready to go on that note. Why There Are Words, WTAW Press is going strong since the launch of its first book in 2017, and that is in no small part because of all your support. Later this month, like most nonprofits, Why There Are Words will kick off its end of the year fundraising campaign, beginning with Giving Tuesday on November 28th. So please consider contributing to Why There Are Words this year. And you certainly don't need to wait until the 28th to donate. And Why There Are Words will be very grateful for your support at any time. And you can definitely rest assured that every contribution is very meaningful. So thank you. Currently, the Kevin McLavoy Book Prize, named in honor of the beloved writing teacher, editor, mentor, and author, Kevin McLavoy, or Mac, as he liked to be called, and whose last book of fiction that WTAW has just published this week is accepting submissions through November 15th, less than a week away. The prize is for full-length books of prose, and the winning entry will receive $2,500, publication, a contract, and 25 books. All entries will be considered for publication. The final judges are Joan Silber, Nina McConaughey, and Peter Turchi. WTAW's new imprint, Betty, Books by Women for Everyone, will open for submission on December 1st. So please avail yourself of the details and guidelines on our website, through our newsletter, and social media. Lastly, the winner of the Alcove Chapbook Series competition will be announced in the coming days, so please keep update with Why There Are Words through those same channels I just mentioned. So, with that being said, let's please give us a hand for our readers. And so our first reader that we're excited to feature is Joanna Acevedo. who is the author of Outtakes, a finalist for the 2023 WTAW Alcove Chapbook Series Prize, published September 26, 2023. She is the author of 2 books and 2 chapbooks, and her writing has been seen across the web and in print, including in Jelly Bucket, Hobart, and the Adroit Journal, among others. She received her MFA in fiction from New York University in 2021 and also holds degrees from Bard College and the New School. She's a writer, editor, and educator who lives in New York City. So please welcome Joanna.
Hey, do I just go? Do I just do the, yeah, I'm just gonna talk. So I am going to do the 2 things that I always do when I read, which are read new things because I like to sort of workshop, see how things feel. And I'm also going to do the bad thing, which is I'm not going to read anything from the book that we just were very nicely introduced to by Michael. Thank you all for being here and letting me run my weird experiments. So I'm just going to read a couple of short things and then I will get out of your hair. This is called Rule 1. Can you all hear me? Is this fine? Okay, cool. This is Rule 1. On the first warm day of what will be summer, Michael has been dead for 4 months. I listen to Rico Nasty and bite my nails. I decide that the purple bag has the best Doritos, that the man I once called my boyfriend might be better as a best friend, but I'm not ready to come to a conclusion yet. I do not have words for what I feel, yet I feel it intensely. I hold my grief in my stomach like you would hold a peach stone in your cheek. I do not bite down. I do not chew. The first rule of Fight Club in the 1999 movie Fight Club is that you don't talk about Fight Club. The club, however, is built on the intrinsic knowledge that someone will notice the bruises, black eyes, and other injuries on its participants and garner questions, which will lead people to talking about Fight Club and thus creating new members. It's a reliable sales model. By selling nothing, building nothing, and offering nothing other than self-destruction, Fight Club grows exponentially. It's incredible what lengths people will go to simply to dismantle themselves, brick by brick. Fight Club's premise is simple. Beat the shit out of the person in front of you. Survive or else suffer. Maybe both. I can understand that. After Michael's death, I plowed forward, unflinching, not stopping to see who or what I left in my wake. This is a dangerous way to live. I don't know how to turn off the machine. I only know it's running and I can't downshift. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. But today, with summer in the air, memories click by like sausage links. I sleep with my window open, inviting dreams to swirl into my second-floor apartment. On the night he died, I cried like an open wound, my edges raw and circling. Now I see a doppelganger on the street, call his name, wave a hand, then realize it's not him. I put down my wrist, feel ashamed, close my mouth. Thank you. I'm just gonna do 2 quick ones more. This is hot off the press. I wrote this today. This is called Grief Lessons. I feed my anger the way you would nurture an animal, a child, a lover, a pet. You seem like you have something to prove, says the white woman at the artist residency, and I wet my lips with my tongue, my response brimming like the Aegean, which now touches the tips of our toes. So much of what I feel is in the body, inexplicable, unexplainable. Sarah says that writing is about clarity, but I don't agree. Writing is about the salty, hot air that goes into our lungs, the sudden and shocking emptiness when it stops. Slowly but surely, I began to lose touch with my friends. In my editorial work, I write about connective tissue, the very ephemeral connections that link writer to reader. I began to lie, just a little, to everyone around me. No, I don't like that. Yes, it is terrible. I agree. I feel the same way you do. But I do not feel the same as other people, and I don't like anyone or anything. The only person I can tolerate is my own reflection, desolate, arbitrary. I feel isolated by my own opinions, ideas. I feel isolated from myself. Pain is not a unique human emotion, nor is anger. My pain and anger are not specific to me. Rather, my grief is universal, and I feel it acutely. I don't know how to mourn efficiently, put all my ducks in a row, move on from the catastrophe, the cracked egg of the world. Some days I want to prescribe a drug that will numb us, save us, love us. I surprise myself with my own lack of empathy, my ability to turn it all off like you would jam loose paper towels into a leaky faucet. Each day, as I wake up to grieve again, I remember a line from Anne Carson's The Glass Essay, a conversation between the narrator and her mother. Why hold on to all of that? Her mother asks, unsure why her daughter continues to create problems for herself. And the narrator responds, where can I put it down? Thank you. I'm just going to do one more here. This is Me and My Friends Are Lonely. This is the first time I've ever been excited about death, Cruz says. When my face shows confusion, she continues. Every year on our birthdays, we die a little more. She is radiant in a white dress, her dark curls spiraling over her forehead. I want to be her, have her, all at once. The tequila alligator jaws its way down my throat. I used to love birthdays. In 2020, we celebrated Jonathan's for an entire year. Each night we would yell, "Happy birthday, Jonathan," and get the whole bar singing while Jonathan sunk lower and lower into his wicker chair, deeply embarrassed. Tom would buy us all shots and we would laugh until our stomachs hurt. During the celebration of my 24th birthday, which was earlier that year, Michael poured me a birthday shot and then another when I wandered over to the bar, asking why we hadn't done a shot for my birthday yet. That was the kind of friend he was, devilish, mischievous to the bone. I miss him on this night, as Jonathan sings Take On Me for the 1,000th time, and I sit outside listening, unable to make myself go inside and dance. How much of desire is just habit, like tonguing a canker sore, just to make sure it still hurts? Cruz leans her head on my shoulder. We need each other more than ever. So much of writing is recording. I want to know what happened, when, and why. I want to be able to look back and say, yes, this is what I did. This is what I did. This is where I was. I'm drawn to the essay form for its specificity, the tactile way I can tell you how Cruz's warm body feels pressed up against my own, like a sock full of oranges, like a melon that's just beginning to rot. She is 1 year closer to death, aren't we all? And I am twisting myself into knots, almost forgetting, spooning cocaine out of a baggie in the bathroom, trying to get one step closer to God, oblivion, one step further from the weakened animal of myself. I'll stop there. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for that amazing reading, Joanna, from some of your new work. Loved it. And our next reader is Christine Hale. And she is the author of A Piece of Sky, A Grain of Rice, a memoir, and four meditations, and of the novel Basil's Dream. Her short fiction and creative nonfiction have appeared in Arts and Letters, Hippocampus, The Sun, and PMS, among other journals. She taught creative writing in the Antioch University Los Angeles Low Residency MFA program, as well as the Great Smokies Writing Program in Asheville, North Carolina, where she lives. She has just last week published the essay Wobble in Still Journal, dealing with the death of her husband, Kevin McLavoy. Tonight, we're honored to have Christine reading from Is It So? Glimpses, Glyphs, and Found Novels, the last book of fiction by Kevin McLavoy, who died suddenly last September. Christine wrote the introduction to Is It So? Why There Are Words published just 2 days ago. Please welcome Christine.
Hello, thank you. I hope you can hear me. I'm so glad to see all these old friends and new friends and wonderful authors on the screen in front of me, and I'll get underway. So Is It So is Kevin McAvoy's 9th published book of fiction, completed just a few months before his sudden death in September last year. And I'm so grateful to WTAW Press for bringing the book into the world and for inviting me to read for Mac tonight. I'm going to read 3 very brief bits of the book, beginning with one of the glyphs. The glyphs are flash fictions implying much more than they say. This one's called In the Garden. Jesus is walking my neighborhood like he always does, and he looks me in the eye, moves within arm's reach, says he needs me to drive him to his mother's. And I say, I don't have a car right now. And he says a sandwich would help him make the hard walk to her place. She's not well. She could use a sandwich too and water, you know. And I say, I don't know her or you. I'm not a sandwich man myself, you know, so no. He says he's got nothing against finger food. He says, do you got pictures of your kids in your phone? How many have you got? No phone? Car? Kids? Let me guess. 3. And your oldest in his 40s like me. No pictures in your wallet? None? See, I'm sunsick, pain in my side, headache, bad feet, hands hurt. This trip home will be long if I can't get a lift. And with no water sandwich friendship, I'll be in a bad shape when I see my poor mother. She's your age, 70 or thereabouts. Got money to help her, me, us? No? So, you ever see your future self eye to eye in this garden? A long walk from there to here, from then to now. I lived for a while like you live, in a tale. I moved from place to place, but where could I live, me and my mother, after we moved and got moved? Do you know that there are people who'll put you in their story, song, sculpture, poem, your place in their gnome garden and pay you nothing for your face? Who knows all this? Who? You had a mother. She had a car. Did she ever make you sandwiches, pour you the cool water, the real love, the juice to live, you know, when you were thirsty? Did she clothe you, school you, clip your hair, drive you safe everywhere you wanted? Got one slice of bread, one $5 bill, one spigot? God knows you got one, and good for you. Before I go, could I drink from your garden hose? So the found novels that are mentioned in the subtitle of the book wed the notion of found poems to the super compression of flash fiction, and they work by implying a novel's worth of story in 50 words or less. There are 6 found novels in this book, all set in a fictional town, Desordenada, North Carolina. I'll read one called The Deep Blue Sealant. This is the sign for brackets. Sign above restroom urinal, public library, Desordenada, North Carolina. The appearance of the deep blue sealant rising up through the drain holes indicates the need for illegible. Glimpses in the subtitle. The glimpses are more complete narratives, closer to a traditional short story, but they're often torqued by unexpected shifts in perspective, time, or frame. I'm going to close by reading the opening 2 pages of one called Cake All Day. When he visited her at Jetta's Grove Care Center, he stayed for an hour, at most 2. He brought her outside in her grand throne, a cross between a lazy boy and a wheelchair. Her light robe was neatly arranged behind her shoulders. Underneath her were neatly tucked sheets and rubber sheets and a bottom layer of foam padding. He closed the sliding doors of the sun porch behind them, and she arranged herself, lifting her back and turning slightly to take pressure off her left leg, shifting the position of her left arm on its special pillow. Left arm and left leg, which were of no use since her stroke 1 year ago, were a source of constant and passing sadness to Dorothy Eva. She understood that her leg and arm were 80-year-old rememberers. She had a view. In her company on the sun porch, he had a view too. They sat together in peculiar abandonment of politeness and in unique attunement particular to their relationship. Their respectful deep regard for each other was made possible by the porch, a place of refuge that faced the Blue Ridge Mountains, bowing their mist-cloaked heads and shoulders in successions of vigor and humility. The weekly visit was entirely devoted to cake. All day the 2 offered different kinds of imaginary cake, inquired about the cake of everyone they encountered, engaged each other in discussions of the ultimate cake, inquired about the teaching of the cake, about the lineage of cake makers, about the mysterious companionship of those who seek to partake with others in cake. Cake was convincing evidence that God existed, the baker. Much of their time together was spent in simply being attentive to each other's self-talk. About cake, of course. Who else but Dorothy Eva permitted him to audibly share his self-conversation? He thought aloud, "Start me off with a small piece, Will. Another is better than stopping at one. She'll tell you that. It's a fact. It's a fact. I'll tell you, if it's got icing piled up to heaven, Will, she'll eat off that part or bite by bite, steal the cake down to the crumbs. Steal the cake from the icing so the walls of icing stand up clean, not even cake crumbs in it. She'll say spoon. I say fork. Spoon? Really? The walls of icing stand up like something great, some tiny great ruins on some uncrumbed, totally unbelievably uncrumbed plate. The walls, the icing walls stand up so you hate to eat them, like the cake never was there waiting to be forked, spooned, ate. You have to eat the cake like the cake walls last. They did not ask each other to clarify what they overheard. They did not interleave, that is, one did not stream thought aloud into the other's thought. They took turns witnessing, alert in the listening. This particular April 1st was only different than the other days because on this day his heart would not start, would crank, cough, almost rev, crank, stop, go silent, go down beyond recharging in the center's parking lot right after his visit with Dorothy Eva, during which every cell of him had been recharged with life and had seemed to hold the charge, but in one laugh, cough, gasp, had gone silent. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're new to Mac's work and want to read more, there are buy links for all his published book on his website, kevinmcilvoy.com. And you can follow me on Facebook or like his Facebook tribute page, Remembering Kevin McElvoy and Joy, for news of his book of poems forthcoming from Press 53 in April. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that beautiful reading of Mac's work, Kirsten. Our next reader is Henry Hoke, who is the author of 5 books, most recently the novel Open Throat, a finalist for the Discover Prize, and the memoir Sticker. WTAW Press published his debut novel, The Groundhog Forever, in 2021. His work appears in No Tokens, Electric Literature, Triangle House, Carve, and the flash noir anthology Tiny Crimes. He edits humor at the offing. His play At Sundown premiered at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe, and his short film Taking Shape screened on HBO. He co-created the performance series Enter Text in Los Angeles and is taught at Cal Arts and the UVA Young Writers Workshop. Please welcome Henry.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. Give me a little thumbs up. Amazing. It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Peg. And oh, that was just so beautiful. I'm just so grateful for Mac's words and to get to know him through Why There Are Words. We were pub date, pub year buddies. And what a joy to be amongst amazing writers. I'm going to read from my novel Open Throat, which is narrated by a mountain lion in Los Angeles. Let's go. I return to the twisted trees and the path below is busy again. I'm kind of a poet, says some boy kid to another boy kid he's holding hands with. When they ask, what are you, says the kid, my mind goes right to poet because I don't ever make the obvious choice. I make the deep choice. I want to claim that title, poet, haha. I watch their hands while they walk away. Hands that could be grabbing bottles and throwing, but are instead wrapped together and connected. I think I'm kind of a poet. Because when I finally find a deer left behind by a herd, its leg broken and stuck in a rock, even though I know I shouldn't, know it'll make the meat spoil quicker, I eat the heart first. I drag my deer to the twisted trees where it'll be covered so I can make the meat an iron flavor that's filling my mouth last. This is a feast for a week. I won't need my people and their tents and their scraps. Won't need to go to town. I can take care of myself. It's easy to lie when I'm stuffed. Rest tries to find me, but the nonstop voices of the passing hikers find me instead. Yeah, I can't wait to see you, a man says into a wire that hangs from his ears. So let's not wait, right? With every step we take, with what you do when you hang up and when you dream, you're moving closer to me, and I'm doing the same. We're not waiting, not standing and waiting. We're constantly traveling in time toward when we get to be together again. There's something wrong with my ears. I can't shut them like I can shut my eyes. More and more voices come, and I stop looking to see where they're all coming from. We don't have earthquake insurance, they say, but we've always got a go bag packed in case fire comes down the mountain. They don't know where they are. They keep changing the name. Is it LA? Or is it Beechwood? Or is it the Canyon? Or is it Scare City? That's just your scarcity mentality, they say. We all live in scarcity. They call everything a disaster. I stare at the trees because the trees don't talk. This is not a big deal, they all say, but only before they say other things. This is not a big deal, but the car is going to need way more work than they thought. This is not a big deal, but he ghosted me, whatever, he's ugly and all his friends suck. This is not a big deal, but right now I need you to listen to me. They say, I can't believe it's almost the 4th and I still don't have a check from him. I've been looking at the mailbox every single day. And they say, you know what the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over. And they say, yeah, but checking the mail? They say Nimoto, and then they say it again. They say fame is a real killer. All I did was one commercial and now I get recognized and shouted at. God, I need to go back to being a nobody. They say, yeah, of course the project is gay. Everything is gay now. Everything is gay now. It's all gay. Everything is gay now. They say, no, I'm not going to tell her. I want to devour their sound. I have so much language in my brain and nowhere to put it. I spend half the night dragging my deer up the hill to the cliff top to find some quiet. When I reach the top, there's an owl perched on the rock across from me. It's not interested in my deer. The meat's been unmoving for too long. The owl's head turns to look at me, so I look back into its eyes, and I see what it sees. The bright world below the park at night is a blur to me when I try to look out over it. But if I get close enough to a creature's eye, I can see what it sees, and in the owl's eye, I see LA clearly. More lights than I could ever count stretch out into the darkness and don't stop stretching. I'm scared of how far they go. I get why people can't decide on one name. This can't all be LA. On quiet midnights back in the caves, I could almost imagine that all the people were gone. Canyons cleared of their footsteps and voices and cars, the long deaths standing still, trees expanding and their green swallowing the buildings and returning the original smells, returning what's needed. I could see myself leaving the park and walking through an empty LA, slow and safe with all the other animals, back to the deep forest and the forever water and the sun setting. People can't see it, but I can. Their end makes everything okay. Scare City isn't Scare City with no one around to say its name. Thank you.
Thank you for that great reading, Henry. Our next reader is Nancy Ludmerer, who is the author of Saracopia, A Locked-In Life, a finalist for the 2023 WTAW Alcove Chapbook Series Prize, published just weeks ago. Her stories appear in Kenyon Review, Electric Literature, the Saturday Evening Post, Litro, and many other journals. They have been translated into Spanish, read aloud on public radio, and have won prizes from Masters Review, Carve, Pulp Literature, and more. Her short story, The Loneliness Cure, won Orison Books' Best Spiritual Literature Prize for Fiction and appears in Best Spiritual Literature, Volume 7, 2022. Her short memoir, Critios Boy, Literal Latte, was cited in the Best American Essays 2014, and other nonfiction appears in Vogue, The American Lawyer, and Green Mountains Review. Nancy's debut collection, Collateral Damage, 48 Stories, was the 2022 winner of Snake Nation Press's Annual Fiction Prize. Please welcome Nancy.
Thank you for having me tonight among these amazing writers. A special thank you to Peg and to Michael for moderating. I'm going to read 4 short passages from the first quarter or so of the novella. There are only 2 things to know before I start. When Jews went outside the Venice ghetto at the time I'm writing about, they were required to wear yellow hats or hoods. And the references to Sarah's father's will near the end of my reading are from his actual will, which I was able to read in translation, from 1606. March 29, 1516, the date they locked us in, over 75 years before I was born. Every night from sunset to sunrise, the Jews must be confined. 2 heavy wood doors, dark and streaked with moisture, reinforced with iron bolts, keep us in. 1 door on the ghetto side of the bridge, the other opening onto the rest of Venice. Today is my 8th birthday, February 13, 1600, and Father is allowing me to go with him into Venice proper. Yet I linger in bed, eyes closed, imagining a day that will be like no other. 4-year-old Diana tugs my hand, shakes my shoulder, and whispers, "Sarah, come on." By the time the Marangona bell sounds from San Marco at 7, we are dressed and ready. Slowly the doors creak open. My sister and I race up the bridge and gaze into the murky canal, the brownish green moss swaying far beneath us. Father joins us, smartly dressed. He wears even his yellow hat with flair. He pats Diana's curly head, tells her one day it will be her turn to go with him, and then he and I walk hand in hand to the Traghetto stop. From the Traghetto, Father points out the sights, the ornate facade of this church, the unusual spires of that one, the shiny-eyed red mullets arrayed in the Rialto fish market stalls, besides lemons as big as a man's fist, the sculpted faces adorning the newest bridge made of limestone, each face sadder than the next, except for one smiling visage. Perhaps the face is smiling in honor of your birthday, Father says. I know he is teasing, but the thought pleases me nonetheless. On our return, we pause in Piazza San Marco to look up at the clock tower with its signs of the zodiac, its gilded lion. I name the lion Aryeh. I tell Father I will invent exploits for Aryeh. Father says I have a good imagination. Now we must go. Subito, he says. It is nearly curfew. It is my favorite room in our home, 4 flights up. A terrazzo floor and wooden rafters, high ceilings, large casement windows. The other rooms in our building in the ghetto are low-ceilinged and cramped, having been subdivided horizontally to house new families, refugees fleeing the Inquisition. 8 floors in a building that used to have 3. By now, the Senate has realized that confining the Jews to this narrow strip, this northernmost blasted island, has consequences not only for the Jews, but for them. At night, the Jews cast their Jewish gaze on Venice from their tenement windows. A solution is found. A solution, Father says, is always found. The Senate passes new laws. Walls must be made higher, windows blacked out, balconies bricked up. But the new laws are not enforced right away. Father teaches me in that favorite room in the late afternoon, when the low sun through the windows gives everything a patchy red glow. He teaches me mathematics from account books, tutors me in astronomy and science, insists I learn Latin, Greek, and Hebrew, as well as Venetian. If an ignorant tradesman from Zante can learn, so can you. Only after his death will I search for Zante on a map, a smudge of land in the Ionian Sea. This next section, she's 14. In a crowd of pilgrims, I gaze at the ceiling of the cupola. Mosaics gleam, gold and more gold, glimmering halos, everything heralding the Savior. Although there are Hebrew prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Malachi, they appear as Christian icons. I am grateful my yellow hood remains hidden under the folds of my black velvet cloak, black velvet being a fabric forbidden to Jews. Sometimes, as Father says, rules must be broken. For the moment, I appear like one of them. The mosaics depicting Noah offer respite. Here he herds the animals into the ark for safety. There he is again, sending the dove aloft to find dry land. After 3 tries, she brings the plucked leaf from an olive tree, signaling the waters have receded. The waters of Venice will not recede. We live in water, thrive on it, journey through and around it. By foot and by traghetto, I will make my way home before sunset. When I told Father where I was going, he said, "You will return stronger." He does not object if I visit churches or read Christian holy books. He says this knowledge will be useful when I establish a salon in the ghetto, a place where men and women, Christian and Jew, can share their poetry, their philosophy, their music. He always says, when you establish a salon, Sarah. Mother adds, you mean if she does. Perhaps when she is older, she will find a better use for her time. Father grows thinner each day. His skin is bluish white and his breathing noisy and labored. His eyesight is failing too, but he rarely complains, simply asks me to stand closer. Tonight I prepare his favorite dish, one he can still eat, finocchi, braised fennels soft as velvet. When finished, he puts down his napkin. Sarah, he says, tell me what you saw today. August 26th, 1606. When Father passes, it is a small thunderstorm, a lightning flash, the waters rising to greet him, then gone. I know my weeping will not overflow the San Girolamo Canal, nor drench our bags of grain and currants and coffee. It will not force us into poverty, like so many others in the ghetto nuovo. Instead, it will leave me bereft in other ways, ways I cannot even put into words. At the reading of Father's will, the notary is a Christian, a friend Father appointed in advance. In the room at the top of the stairs, I sink into Father's chair and breathe in the scent of him. From across the room, Mother shakes her head. I ignore her. I am the elder daughter, the stand-in for the son he never had. In his bequests, Father forgets no one. 6 orphan girls receive dowries, one reserved for Rena Colombini, my best friend from school, a dark, curly-haired sprite. I taught Rena to read, which made Father proud. There are bequests to Stella, our housekeeper, and Abram Tedescu, our manservant. Father appoints Mother his executor. With the exception of an annual contribution to our poor in the Holy Land, The will directs that no capital be sent out of Venice. All is to be used here for Diana and me. When mother dies, we will receive whatever remains in equal shares, so long as we continue to be Jews. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful reading, Nancy. Our next reader is Julian Mithra, who hovers between genders and genres, border mongering and mongraling. They are the author of Promiscuous Ruin, winner of the 2023 WTAW Alcove Chapbook Series Prize. They are the author of 3 previous chapbooks, including The Experimental Archive, Unearthingly, Kaleidoscope, and If the Color is Fugitive. For an MA in folklore, they dressed up like a 19th century anthropologist and ventriloquized through a copper pipe. They're cobbling together a record of trans masculinity in speculative Philadelphia, 1829, where natural scientists rival evangelical millenarians for insight into the sublunary and sublime. They periginate around the Bay Area, sniffing rocks and touching paper. Please welcome Julian.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks to Peg for helping this beautiful book. Contrary. Danny didn't die when he got the chance. Ma loved him more before he was born. She patched the softest scraps of flannel into a rabbit and stuffed it with wool and down. A fat rabbit with long ears, like real ears, with fur in the curve and a fluffy tail. Pa teased that this was Danny's rabbit. Danny tricked it into a trap. Sometimes he killed it and stuffed it. Sometimes kept it alive in a box. He pressed morsels of food against his embroidered mouth and covered it with a shawl. The only time I felt good before I left Grieversville is when I stole the rabbit and hung it from the rafters and watched Danny climb on a chair and yell, "Come, come, I promise to give you all my battered fish. I will never drop you in the mud." When the rabbit did not climb down, he swore, "You blasted rabbit, I'll get my rifle this moment and point it at your guts and shoot, and all your guts will be on the floor. I'll be laughing. You'll be sorry you ever got away from me and climbed up there, damn it. You will think the devil himself come to Grievers." I never could tear the rabbit limb from limb. I would have been a suspect. The rabbit was not alive, so I couldn't kill it by drowning. The rabbit was not dead, so I could not skin it and make a cuff. Though I plunged thorns into its paw and held lit sticks close to its tail while Danny howled. He didn't hit me, though, nor grab his rabbit and scurry under the porch. Maybe that's on account of my gambling father. Danny's crooked-nosed father read books. His father asked about pretend things like a child. "Did your rabbit have a good time swimming in the creek?" This way of being contrary took me in its talons, and the old way of being contrary behind the tavern, behind any building at all, grew dim, and I thought I had left it behind when I decided to be a hunter. One night I forgot about the putrid rabbit, and word got out I'd be traveling with a trapper who knew the territory. For Ma, I told her grave not to worry, asked if she could see my bone buttons and lambskin boots. She was a simple woman who was not ever good or bad, just tired, and here she got her long rest. Then Lamb, even in his buttons, even his boots. Jacklight. This is somewhat based on a possibly apocryphal story that Teddy Roosevelt's first kill was using a jacklight. At a lily marsh, we slow the stolen boat with a drag chain to a strand crowded with dark ash, white oak, and bare grass. Johann motions to quiet our clacks and wrap the oar in flannel. Deer trickle to the shoulder. Tongues lower their heads to lap, and their ears lower invisible mouths. Without drinking, the mother will die. Without milk, her fawn will die. Without fawns, the mother will stare at moving water like she forgot its purpose. Megrim unclasps the bark lamp's door, forcing the flames in a line with broken mirrors. Johann rudders the craft close in. I unlatch the safety and rest the butt against leather on my left shoulder. I am a man among cheatful men. We have no follow in us. We have no talent to track, sign, seek, or stalk. We can't smell an acorn fall. We can't crumble scat in our palm. We forsake noble still hunting for hunger and a dirty quickness. Hurry dogs us into our last box of bullets. The same hurry that wrenched me from the womb early and up right onto legs and into boy and now gumption. The jacklight's the trick to bring a small sun past the shoulder of dusk where it doesn't belong. Her 2 eyes, dishes of snow. Arrested, they call it. Hushed, Lars elbows me. He means, wait till you aim for her shoulder and rib cage. No, I'm a waterfall, a vow so loud you have to shout, danger to trout, froth forced into free fall. Anchor strands me in the water, sticks buffeting the craft. The deer stares, froze as a frontier. Does she breathe? Transfixed by our trick, falling into the sun, drowning in attention. I have killed 6 deer, that's a fact, and if I don't, the men will believe the curse has ricocheted and lodged in my swelter. The deer eye terrored into my shoulder and stung me with thirst and motherhood, its strand of frost stilling my shot. Okay, and this is a little bonus poem that has some phrases lifted from a essay by Teddy Roosevelt about hunting in Montana. Marooned by organs. Hoo-wee, big horn or prong buck, I'm fat for backs, hunched against Arctic. Beecham's off collecting buffalo pies to hold back toothache. Pain. A furrow for hide hunters to finger when we run out of bullets and spit. Hormone circles, panting, free range through rabbit brush lungs and cliff rose kidneys. Gait, kind of country broken by ditches and ravines and cantering hard as anything. Blood soak, between pink flesh, gorges fill with patches of ash from when we burned lust, rut to rut, grunt, and bark, gun oil slick, crack, slurping dicks, rank growth. Inside his skin, a grange of muscles tethered to muscles. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that excellent reading, Jillian. Our next and final reader is Summer Schaefer, who is the senior editor of the Forge Literary Magazine and widely published, including a distinguished story in Best American Short Stories 2019. She lives in Northern California on Coast Miwok land with her family, a rescue dove, and a bearded dragon. Her debut book of short stories, The Women, will be released in less than a week on November 14th from Unsolicited Press. Let's welcome Summer.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Peg. Thanks, Michael. I can't think of a better way to spend an hour. These words just bring me so much joy. I'm going to be reading a story from my collection. The collection has 17 stories, each about a different woman who are faced with sometimes very perplexing and strange challenges. This is called Against the Ground. Outside, sun and palm trees, a pale blue sky, a parking lot full of Audis and Acuras, Teslas and Beamers. The constant sun, I thought, at it again. Standing next to me was Judith, the mother of my son's friend, and I had recently learned, one of the foremost real estate attorneys in the county whose husband owned a hedge fund company. She was pregnant, overdue with her second, and there we were, having found ourselves in line together at the Redwood Starbucks remarkably sans kids. Her hair was a mane of buoyant, shiny black curls. She had especially pale white skin, remarkably big dark eyes, and a long, thin nose down which she stared. All around us, trim, fit people, massive iPhones in hands, sharply tailored clothing, and a purpose that they seemed to wear like invisible bling, confidently and indifferently. The first time she had Luke over for a play date at her stunning tri-level in the hills, she had confessed to me with a shake of her curls and what seemed to be multiple distractions in her eyes. I just hate play dates. The expectation for snacks and entertainment, the small talk. I suppose I could have Maria make you some coffee. Do you think you really want it? And I didn't, of course not. She gave me a tour of the house, immaculately airy and white, and when we settled back in the family room upon the soft wool wraparound couch before the retro 1960s wood-burning stove, she grabbed her iPhone on the adjacent glass-topped end table and said, "I hope you don't mind, I have to get to some of these calls," and left me to a slick issue of Dwell while the boys played. I was new in town, new to the preschool and fishing for friends. When you're poor, though, in a rich town, it's easier imagined than done, which is what I did. I took invigorating hikes in the hills with friendly moms while our kids attended the local co-op preschool for 3 hours, 3 days a week. I had stimulating conversations with smart women over French press coffee in my 500 square foot apartment with the truly astonishing view of the neighborhood monkey tree. In reality, I was coveting my place in line at Starbucks, treating myself to a monthly coffee out, and had just laughingly shared with Judith what I suspected initiated my labor with Luke 3 years ago and might prove helpful to her too. The mopping that I had, until that moment, considered to be an admirable, if slightly amusing, mark of discipline and a source of a certain degree of marginal, albeit plebeian, domestic pride. My own mother, after all, had been a mopper, a truly vociferous house cleaner. "Oh God, I don't mop." She looked at me. She set her leather handbag on the counter and ordered a grande almond milk chai latte, please, into its deep, rich-smelling depths, digging around in there through what I imagined were many beautiful and exclusive items, and pulled out a wallet with a bright, brassy zipper. "But don't make it too hot." She eyed the barista behind the counter, whose cheeks and forehead were slick, youthy domes. "Why do they make it so hot?" She brought her chin to her shoulder and gave me a close-lipped smile. And I'd be the first to admit that she had beautiful cheekbones. It would soon be pickup time at the boys' preschool, and so we stood by the pickup counter waiting our turn, she eyeing her watch, asking how I was. All around us, beautiful, buzzing people. When the drinks came, she was at the counter instantly. She swept her chai latte into her palm, brought the plastic lid to her lips, while half smiling and waving bye to me, and headed to the door. The ferocity of her coming to a complete stop in the middle of the cafe was startling, admirable even, for its forcing the man behind her to abruptly veer to the side and better secure the fold of the newspaper under his armpit. Despite being immensely pregnant and overdue, she wore her loose cream-colored tunic and linen slacks, her thick-soled flip-flops, her slouchy leather purse over one shoulder, as if she'd have it no other way. She returned to the pickup counter with the drink in her hand. "Excuse me, She edged past others waiting, stood in front of the counter, leaned over into the space behind where two baristas were trying to keep up with the line that had instantly appeared, and smiled warmly. "I'm so sorry, but this is too hot. Is there any way you could cool it off? Just a notch?" The barista with the dome forehead, the beautiful skin, had been joined by one with pink hair, a nose ring, large breasts, and several colorful tattoos up her arms. She commanded her work, buzzing between 6 separate shots of espresso, a milk steamer, and a small refrigerator from which she pulled several varieties of milk. "Huh?" She looked at Judith, one hand at the espresso machine while her other reached for a paper cup. "It's too hot. I'd like it cooled, please." And for a split second, the large, powerful barista, who seemed to emote a more swarthy confidence than everyone else, cups and shots of espresso and gallons of various milks, and the steamer shushing and sizzling full power at her fingertips, looked at me. What can I say? I am not courageous. I am weak. I am only certain in imagination. It was all I could do to keep myself from leaving my hot, rich coffee that I loved, that I treated myself too rarely because of its cost, that I savored like liquid gold because it was accompanied by the rare occasion of me inhabiting my very own space, and running out the door, leaving that powerful woman and beelining out of the espresso smelling, Tom's wearing, cashmere clad crowd, so many of them seemingly and entirely distraught with the annoying wait, single-handedly swiping through phones or talking on them with loud, assured voices. It's the constant sun, I thought again then, feeling an encroaching panic as I felt them all around me, long, slender arms, iPhones on ears, soft, sun-streaked hair falling over shoulders, lean, muscled bodies, crystal clear eyes that showed that they ruled their reality, left nothing to the imagination, that there was absolutely nothing left to take. It's the sun, I told myself again. Too much sun makes people too hyper, too happy, too sure of themselves. What we need is a little rain, some dark clouds, a berating storm, an epidemic, a bewildering illness that will zip through us like fire and leave us gasping with cheeks against the ground. When the barista said, "No problem, let me make you a new one," I simply couldn't believe it. And so I blame my shock, my confusion, for the fact that as I slipped by Judith to grab my coffee on the counter, and she turned to me and said, "So hot," in a strange and disconcerting moment of boldness, I pretended I didn't even know her. She was no friend of mine. I rushed out into the sun, and it hit me straight in the eyes.
You so much for that excellent reading, Summer. So thank you again to all the wonderful authors for your amazing readings tonight. Joanna Avesedo, Christine Hale, Henry Hoke, Nancy Ludmer, Julian Mitra, Summer Schaefer. Let's give them another round of Zoom applause. Thank you all again so much. And thank you to Peg, the director of Why There Are Words, for organizing this event and for everything she does. And thank you to all you who attended and supported our amazing readers and shared the special event with us. So be sure to check out the authors' books. If you want to make sure you have their links that are in the chat now, make sure to go check those out. And there are some special deals in the WTAW online shop as well. So we'll be back with another salon in the new year. And in the meanwhile, please consider supporting WTAW's work. So everyone, please stay well and read well and be good to each other and take care. And thank you again all so much for being here. And thank you again to all our amazing readers. So have a good night, everybody.